What I talk about when I talk about running by Haruki Murakami. Have you ever pushed yourself so far that your body felt like it was falling apart, bit by bit? Picture this. You're 47 miles into a 62-mile race. The sun's been beating down on you for hours. Every single part of your body has screamed in protest at some point. Your muscles feel like hardened rubber. Runner after runner passes you, some of them decades older, shouting, "Hang in there," but the words barely register anymore. You feel like a machine grinding to a halt, running out of oil, bolts coming loose. You tell yourself, "I am not a human, I am a piece of machinery. I don't need to feel a thing, just forge on ahead." You repeat this mantra against the pain, over and over. Your entire world shrinks to just the 3 yards of asphalt in front of you. Nothing else exists. Not the sky, not the wind, not your past, not your future. And then something shifts. You pass through an invisible wall. The pain doesn't just lessen, it completely vanishes, shoved into some hidden corner of your mind, like ugly furniture you no longer have to look at. Your body becomes an automaton, running on pure autopilot. You start passing other runners, hundreds of them. You're no longer fighting yourself. You're simply moving. You run, therefore you are. This isn't some fictional movie scene. This actually happened to one of the world's most celebrated novelists, Haruki Murakami, during a brutal ultramarathon in northern Japan. And this experience, this journey through pain into a state of pure existence, holds the secret to his entire life's work. Murakami is a literary giant. His novels have sold millions of copies and have been translated into over 50 languages. But he's not the kind of artist you might picture. He doesn't wait for inspiration to strike. He doesn't live a chaotic, bohemian lifestyle. Instead, he discovered that the key to unlocking the deepest, most complex parts of his imagination was found in the simple, repetitive act of lacing up his shoes and running, day after day, for over a quarter of a century. This book, What I Talk About When I Talk About Running, isn't a guide on how to run a marathon. It's something far more profound. It's a memoir about where physical discipline and creative genius intersect. It's a quiet, humble, and powerful exploration of how a simple habit, performed with relentless consistency, can shape not just your body, but your mind, your work, and the very essence of who you are. So if you've ever wondered how to sustain your passion over a lifetime, how to find focus in a world of constant distraction, or how to endure when every part of you wants to quit, then stay with me, because by the end of our time together, you'll understand the powerful philosophy Murakami discovered on the lonely roads of the world, a philosophy that teaches us that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. It all started on a perfect spring afternoon, April 1st, 1978. Haruki Murakami was 29 years old, sitting in the outfield of Jingu Stadium in Tokyo, sipping a cold beer and watching a baseball game. He owned a small jazz club, a business he'd built from scratch, with borrowed money and pure hard work. He worked from morning until the wee hours of the next day, every single day. Life was a steep staircase he was constantly climbing, just trying to keep his head above water. But on this particular day, something felt different. The sky was clear, the grass brilliantly green. The leadoff batter for his favorite team, the Yakult Swallows, stepped up to the plate, an American player named Dave Hilton. He swung the bat, and the sound of it meeting the ball, that clean, satisfying crack, echoed through the stadium. Hilton rounded first and slid into second for a double. In that precise instant, a thought descended from the sky and landed squarely in Murakami's mind. You know what? I could try writing a novel. He'd never had any ambition to be a writer. He just suddenly felt this powerful, undeniable conviction that he could do it. That very day, he went to a bookstore, bought a stack of manuscript paper and a cheap fountain pen. And every night after closing his jazz club, he would sit at his kitchen table and write until he fell asleep. He felt like he was living two lives at once. By day, a club owner dealing with customers, accounts, and staff. By night, a fledgling novelist exploring the strange worlds in his head. This went on for years. He wrote 2 novels this way, snatching bits of time here and there. But he knew it wasn't sustainable. He was smoking 60 cigarettes a day. His fingers were stained yellow. His body reeked of smoke, and he was constantly exhausted. He realized that if he wanted a long life as a novelist, he needed to completely change his lifestyle. So at age 33, he made a decision his friends and family thought was insane. He sold the jazz club, the business he had poured his entire 20s into, to commit himself fully to writing. He decided to become a professional writer. But a new problem arose. Without the hard physical labor of running the bar, he started gaining weight. His energy levels dropped. That 60-a-day smoking habit was killing him. He knew he needed to stay physically fit, but what could he do? He wasn't a team sports person. The idea of competing one-on-one made him uncomfortable. He was, by his own admission, the kind of person who preferred being alone. And that's when he found running. It was perfect. You don't need anyone else. You don't need special equipment, just a good pair of shoes. You don't have to go to a special place. The road is always there, waiting for you. So he started. At first, he could only run for 20 minutes before he was panting, his heart pounding, his legs shaky. He was even a little embarrassed to be seen by his neighbors. But he kept at it, day after day. He made it part of his routine, as essential as his 3 meals a day. And a funny thing happened. As he ran, his desire to smoke started to fade. He realized he couldn't keep smoking and continue running. The natural desire to run farther, to feel healthier, became powerful motivation to quit. Quitting smoking became a symbolic farewell to the life he used to lead. He also discovered something profound about himself. While running, he didn't have to talk to anybody or listen to anybody. He could just gaze at the scenery passing by. It was his own private, silent time. People would often ask him, "What do you think about when you're running?" And his answer was always the same: "I don't have a clue." He runs in a void. Or rather, he runs to acquire a void. The thoughts that come to him are like clouds in the sky. They come and they go, but the sky remains. The thoughts are just guests that pass away and vanish. And in that quiet, contemplative space, his mind finds the clarity it needs to write. This is the first great lesson Murakami teaches us: the deep, symbiotic relationship between physical and mental discipline. For him, writing a novel isn't a delicate intellectual pursuit. It is, he says, a form of manual labor. The process of sitting at a desk, focusing your mind like a laser beam, creating a story out of nothing, and keeping the whole thing on track requires an immense amount of energy over a long period. It's a marathon. And to survive it, you need physical strength, focus, and endurance. He argues that talent, while essential, is like fuel in a car. Without it, you can't go anywhere. But talent is something you can't control. It wells up when it wants to, and once it dries up, that's it. Many brilliant artists burn out young because their natural vitality fades, and they haven't built the systems to sustain their gift. What comes after talent? The 2 most important qualities for a novelist, he says, are focus and endurance. Focus is the ability to concentrate all your limited talents on what's critical at the moment. Without it, you can't accomplish anything of value. Endurance is the ability to maintain that focus day after day, for months, even years. And here's the crucial part: unlike talent, focus and endurance can be trained. How do you train them? By sitting down at your desk every single day and concentrating, and by putting on your shoes every single day and running. The process is the same. You show your body and your mind, through repetition, what's expected of them. You gradually increase the load, step by step. You teach your muscles and your mind to endure. Patience is essential, but the results will come. This is why, for Murakami, running became both a practice and a metaphor for his work. Most of what he knows about writing fiction, he learned by running every day. How much to push himself, how much rest is appropriate, when to be confident and when to doubt himself. He wasn't a natural runner, but he was a strong one. And this strength allowed him to dig deep into his own creative well, again and again. He says that writers with natural, overflowing talent are like people who have a spring in their backyard. The water just flows. But for him, he has to pound the rock with a chisel and dig a deep hole before he can locate the source of creativity. Every time he starts a new novel, he has to dredge out another deep hole. Running gave him the physical and mental strength to keep digging. But the road isn't always smooth. As he pushed himself further, he encountered new challenges that tested his philosophy. In the summer of 1983, he traveled to Greece. He had an idea to run the original marathon course, from Athens to the town of Marathon, all by himself. When he told the locals his plan, they all said the same thing. That's insane. The heat in Athens in midsummer is unbelievable. Running 26 miles in that furnace is an act of madness. But he'd promised he would do it. So at 5:30 in the morning, while it was still dark, he set off. The run was brutal. The air was so dry his sweat evaporated instantly, leaving a layer of white salt that stung his skin. He dreamed of an ice-cold beer, but all he had was warm water from the van that followed him. By mile 23, he started to hate everything. His energy had scraped bottom. He felt like a car running on empty. He got angry at the sheep munching grass by the road. He got angry at the photographer snapping pictures. But he kept going. He moved his feet forward, one after the other. That was the only thing that mattered. When he finally reached the finish line, he felt no sense of accomplishment, only utter relief that he didn't have to run anymore. This run taught him a crucial lesson, a mantra he would carry with him for the rest of his life. It came from another marathon runner who told him, "Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. The pain of running, the hurt, that's an unavoidable reality. But whether you can stand it anymore, whether you let it break you, that's up to the runner himself." This, Murakami says, is the most important aspect of marathon running, and perhaps of life itself. He learned to endure the pain, to accept it as part of the process, and to choose not to suffer. But years later, he would face a challenge that went beyond mere pain, a challenge that threatened the very joy he found in running. In June of 1996, he decided to run a 62-mile ultramarathon around Lake Soroma in Hokkaido, the northernmost part of Japan. For a normal person, this is an unthinkable distance. And for Murakami, it would be a transformative experience, for better and for worse. The first 34 miles were manageable, but after that, his body began to rebel. His leg muscles tightened up like old, hard rubber. Every part of his body took its turn, screaming out in complaint. He felt like a piece of beef being run slowly through a meat grinder. It was in this crucible of pain that he discovered a new mental strategy. He told himself, "I'm not a human. I'm a piece of machinery. I don't need to feel a thing. Just forge on ahead." He repeated this like a mantra, reducing his world to the 3 yards of ground in front of him. Consciousness, he realized, was trying to deny consciousness. He was forcing himself into an inorganic place, because it was the only way to survive. And then, around the 47-mile mark, it happened. He felt like he passed clean through a stone wall. He was suddenly on the other side. The pain was gone. His muscles, which had been a seething revolutionary tribunal, gave up complaining. They silently accepted the exhaustion as a historical inevitability. He was a being on autopilot. Running had entered the realm of the metaphysical. He finished the race in 11 hours and 42 minutes. And as he sat down for the first time in half a day, a sense of completion washed over him. A feeling of relief, like a tight knot inside him he never knew was there, had finally been loosened. But the aftermath was unexpected. After the ultramarathon, he lost the enthusiasm he'd always had for running. The desire wasn't as clear as before. He fell into what he calls runner's blues. He still ran 1 marathon a year, but it felt like a formality. The joy was gone. It seemed that by completing that immense race, he had stepped into a different place, a more introspective space that changed his relationship with the act of running. For years, he was in this slump. His times got worse. He turned his focus to triathlons and squash. Running was no longer the center of his life. It was like losing the initial crazy feeling you have when you fall in love. This brings us to the final, and perhaps most important lesson of Murakami's journey, a lesson about aging, acceptance, and finding new meaning when you can no longer be what you once were. As the years went by, he had to face the reality that he could no longer improve his marathon times. He had reached his physical peak. No matter how much he trained, the numbers were retreating, step by step. At first, this was a shock, but he came to understand it as a natural part of life. Just as a river flows to the sea, growing older and slowing down are part of the natural scenery. The goal was no longer about breaking records. It was about something else. After years of the runner's blues, he moved back to Cambridge, Massachusetts, and began running along the Charles River again. The familiar path revived old feelings. The joy started to come back, but it was different now. Quieter, more mature. He realized that competing against time was no longer important. What was much more meaningful was how much he could enjoy himself, whether he could finish 26 miles with a feeling of contentment. He decided to enjoy and value the things that can't be expressed in numbers. He was no longer a young person focused on breaking records, nor an inorganic machine. He was a professional writer who knew his limits, and who wanted to hold on to his abilities and vitality for as long as possible. His recent marathons haven't been his fastest. He's had frustrating races where cramps forced him to slow down in the final miles, but he's made a promise to himself. Until the feeling that he's done a good job in a race returns, he's going to keep running. Even when he grows old and feeble, as long as his body allows, he'll keep on running. He doesn't care what others say. It's just his nature. And this leads to his final beautiful thought. Someday, if he has a gravestone and is able to pick what's carved on it, he'd like it to say this: Haruki Murakami, 1949, whenever. Writer and runner. At least he never walked. That's it. Not about the prizes he won, or the books he sold. The victory for him is in the persistence, the quiet dignity of showing up, day after day, and simply refusing to quit, of continuing the journey, no matter how slow the pace, and at the very least, never, ever walking. What a beautiful, quiet, and deeply profound book. As you can probably tell, this isn't a book filled with grand pronouncements or earth-shattering secrets. Its power lies in its humility. It's the simple, honest reflection of a man who found in a solitary, repetitive activity a guiding philosophy for his entire life. I think the most powerful lesson here, especially if you're standing at the beginning of your own journey, is Murakami's redefinition of what it means to be successful and what it takes to create something of lasting value. We live in a world obsessed with talent, with overnight success, with viral moments. We see the highlight reels of other people's lives, and we think that's the whole story. We believe that some people are just born with a gift, a magical spring of creativity that never runs dry. And if we don't feel that within ourselves, it can be incredibly discouraging. Murakami gently takes that idea apart. He tells us, yes, talent is important, but it's not enough. What truly matters, what separates the person who creates one great work from the person who builds a lifetime of meaningful work, is focus and endurance. And the wonderful news is that those are skills, they're muscles, and they can be trained. His life is a testament to the power of routine. He gets up before 5 in the morning, works for several hours when his mind is sharpest, and then he goes for a run. Every day. This isn't about rigid, joyless discipline. It's about creating a structure that allows his creative mind to roam free. By taking care of the physical, by making the act of writing a non-negotiable part of his day, he removes the need to wait for inspiration. He just shows up and does the work. The other beautiful idea is his relationship with pain and limitation. The mantra, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional, can be applied to almost any challenge you'll ever face. There will be times in your life when things are hard, when you fail, when you feel the sharp sting of disappointment. That's the pain. It's part of the human experience. But whether you allow that pain to turn into suffering, into a story you tell yourself about how you're not good enough, about how you should just quit, that's a choice. You can, like Murakami, acknowledge the pain and then choose to keep moving forward. So how can you apply these ideas to your own life right now? Here are a few simple thoughts. First, find your run. It doesn't have to be actual running. It could be drawing for 15 minutes every day. It could be writing one page in a journal. It could be practicing an instrument. Find one simple, tangible activity that you can commit to daily. Let it be the anchor of your day, the thing you do for yourself, to train your focus and your endurance. Don't worry about the results at first. Just show up. Second, embrace the void. We're so afraid of being bored, of being alone with our own thoughts. The moment we have a free second, we reach for our phones. Try, just for a little while each day, to disconnect. Go for a walk without headphones. Sit and stare out the window. Allow your mind to be like the sky Murakami describes. Let the clouds of thought come and go, without judgment. You might be surprised by the clarity and creativity that emerges from that quiet space. And finally, learn to be a long-distance runner in whatever you choose to do. Don't be discouraged if you're not the fastest or the most naturally talented. Life isn't a sprint. It's a marathon. The people who truly succeed are the ones who have the patience and the resilience to keep going, to put one foot in front of the other, even when they feel like they're going nowhere. The goal isn't just to cross a finish line. It's to find satisfaction in the journey itself, and to be able to look back and say, with quiet pride, "At least I never walked." That was a journey through What I Talk About When I Talk About Running by Haruki Murakami. We've touched on the main ideas today, but I have to be honest with you, a summary can only ever be a map. The real treasure is found when you walk the territory yourself. The magic of this book is in its quiet, meditative rhythm, in the way a simple phrase or a small memory can connect with you in unexpected ways. This summary is here to help you decide if this is a path worth exploring. If any of the ideas we've discussed today have resonated with you, I encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see the relationship between your body, your mind, and your work. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the world's most successful minds. Let's keep growing together.